Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Excellent. Thank you for being here. Well, and welcome to Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager, special edition.
Special edition.
Yeah, so we appreciate the crowd. We're just trying to get the microphones to work. Can you still hear me if I move away from? Excellent. Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. There are just a couple of chairs. We're sorry for not having enough room, but we had a bigger attendance than we anticipated. So again, welcome. I'm Mayor Sheehy. Thank you so much for being here for the special edition. I'm joined by City Manager Jess Knudson.
Good morning, everybody.
So for those of you that are new to Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager, we'll give you kind of a rundown of what we do, and but it's going to be a little different because it's a special edition today. So we'll give you an update of some of the things that are going on in Lake Havasu City. We'll keep it brief because we know that there are people that are much more popular than us here today with ALLO Communications and the announcement of the broadband. But we'll go over a few updates, and then we're actually going to go to a panel discussion about broadband, about ALLO moving into Lake Havasu City, and what that means for our community. So that's kind of the outline of what we'll do, and I think we just jump right into it.
Perfect.
All right. So since last time we meet on the first Friday of every month at 8:30, generally at the City Council chambers. Again, this is a special edition, so we're here on Friday, May 4th, but it is Wednesday. Wednesday. You know, I just wake up and my phone beeps and I go wherever it tells me to go. So all the days are the same to me. But so Wednesday, May 4th. Since last time we met, we have had some discussions about our budget. One of the biggest things that the City Council does is we work on the budget and approve a budget for Lake Havasu City. Jess and his team work really hard for, 10 months to put it all together. But since last time we met, we had discussion about our CIP budget. So this is our 5-year capital improvement plan and the budget that how we're going to spend on infrastructure and developments within our community. So Jess, if you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you do from a staff perspective, and then we can talk about some of the priorities that were identified during that discussion.
Yeah. So sure. So budget time is one of those things where if you just kind of hear the word budget, maybe your eyes glaze over and so forth. But it's a really, really important time of the year that's happening right now in Lake Havasu City, is the development of that annual budget. And we go through 2 work sessions with the council to present. The last work session was just a couple of weeks ago for the capital improvement plan, and then we're going to have another work session next week on Thursday, I believe. Right? Is that the 12th? That'll be at 9 a.m. at the council chambers over at the police department. And we're presenting the operational budget there too. So this is the time of the year where we listen, we take all the thoughts and concerns that are coming from the residents, from the business community, from the council, from our partners, and we develop a plan through the budget on what we're trying to accomplish for the next 12 months, from July 1st to June 30th of the upcoming year. So we're developing that plan, and we work hard. After that plan gets developed, the budget gets adopted by council, and then July 1st, we take like 2 months off and we start the whole process over from a staff perspective and putting that together. Those budget books are thick, and we want to make sure that the taxpayer dollars are accounted for and used properly. Some of the priorities that we've identified in the budget is in large part is infrastructure. It's important. We need to invest some more money into our roads, and we're looking at some ideas of what that might look like. We have to make sure that our water system is in good health. We've spent a lot of money in the last 4 years to build a redundant water supply in Lake Havasu, something that we didn't have at the time. But we invested a lot of money to make sure that water will flow in Havasu continuously with backup water supply, a very, very important aspect of it. Making sure our sewer infrastructure is there and in place, and we're not going to deal with all the maintenance issues that are tied to it. We have a lot of old aging equipment. We need to put our city staff in a position that if an issue comes up, we can get out there and worry about the problem at hand rather than the equipment breaking. You probably noticed the last couple of weeks, last month or so, we did the chip seal program, and then no striping occurred. Yeah. We have one striping machine we bought. It's not that old. We bought it in 2008. We put the striping machine out there as soon as it was ready to go, broke down. I order a part, make a repair. I was out there for another 4 or 5 hours, broke down again, order another part. It broke down 3 times, and knock on wood, it's out there right now working, and we're hoping to get finished this week with that striping. But that's just an example of where we need to invest our money with the city to ensure that things are done properly the first time.
Yeah, so in the budget, Jess had mentioned that we are going to prioritize roads. One of the priorities of the City Council was to ensure that we had better roadways and better roadway networks. One of the areas that really we're able to highlight is the repaving of McCulloch Boulevard from Acoma down to Smoke Tree. It's beautiful, and everyone is enjoying the fruits of that labor. But the council was able to engage with citizens about what our roadways are going to look like in our main thoroughfares, and how do we invest more money into that. So our roadways generally are maintained through our HERF dollars, or the Highway User Revenue Fund, which is basically our gas taxes. So we, pump at or pump gas into our cars, and then the gas tax that we pay is redistributed back up to cities and towns, and then we use those monies, and that's what we've done for many, many years in Lake Havasu City. Our intention for roads is that we hit each roadway about 10%. So every 10 years, every roadway has some sort of a treatment, whether that's a fog seal, whether that's a mill and fill like we did on McCulloch, a chip seal, whatever that looks like. We were able to do, a year and a half ago, we were able to do about 18% of our roadways. Last year, we were able to do about 12% of our roadways because of the increased cost of gas and fuel, limited what we could do. And so with doing these different treatments, we're going to be able to ensure that we have a good roadway network and roadway system, and we're going to invest additional general fund dollars into roadway preservation going forward. So for the next 5 years, the CIP budget does have monies allocated for that area. While we're talking about traffic and what all that looks like, Highway 95 is another area that's a state highway system, so we don't have the ability to use our local tax dollars on that, but ADOT does. And through the efforts of Representative Biasucci, Senator Borelli, and Representative Cobb down at the legislature, last year they were able to get general fund appropriations from the state of Arizona to redo Highway 95 from Sarah Park all the way up to I-40. So that is in the process. We've come up to some snags because the money they got allocated, now the cost of fuel and the cost of materials has gone up, but we're working through that. Nonetheless, we will have Highway 95 repaved within our community, which will be great. You won't lose your teeth anymore from driving down that street. But still, we're looking at some additional ways to make that roadway more efficient. And so we're talking about the synchronization of the lights. ADOT's already put the technology in on the highway, but you wouldn't really notice it, right? You still get every red light when you're coming through. They are working on tweaking what that looks like. And then the Lake Havasu City Metropolitan Planning Organization has invested additional $1 million to go ahead and synchronize the light system on Lake Havasu Avenue. What that means is when you're coming off of the highway and you turn left, say off of the highway onto Mesquite, for example, and then you catch the light at Lake Havasu Avenue, the traffic backs up into the highway. This will be synchronization, not only coordination with the state highway system, but the local road system. So when you turn left, that light will be green and you continue to go on. So by doing this, we need a commitment from all of our citizens. Slow down. Don't get so aggravated anymore when you get stuck at one of those lights, and that way traffic will be able to flow much more efficiently. So that's a really exciting priority in that budget, is to be able to have additional monies in addition to the HERF to be able to put the roadway infrastructure that we need to maintain what we already have. So very exciting there. The other thing that we talked about is code enforcement within our community. We currently have a reactive code enforcement. We still will have a reactive code enforcement, but the City Council has given direction to Jess and his team to increase the amount of staff that we have in code enforcement, and then also take a look at some very simple code tweaks so that everyone understands exactly what is a code violation and what's not, and then we can address it further if that's necessary. Just I don't know if you have any additional thought on what you and your team are doing on that part.
Yeah, certainly a focus. Again, council and the mayor and council have challenged me and my team to take a look at what that is. We mentioned we have a reactive code enforcement, and that's the standing order, and that's kind of the sentiment for the most part throughout the community. Rather than city staff driving up and down the streets and pointing out all the flaws that they see, we rely on complaints to come in and so forth. That's what reactive means. So we'll continue to take that approach, but we need more resources. We're looking at one additional staff member right now. Denise Abel, nickname is a superwoman. She was one person that handles code enforcement for the entire city. I think she has like about 700 cases that she works every year. That's a lot for one person, and so we need to get her some help and some resources and an additional staff person. And then we'll be coming to the council here in the next 2 months or so, looking at the code enforcement chapter of the city code. Not for any significant changes, but we just want to make sure that it's black and white in terms of some of the items within that code. In particular, we probably hear the most from the community about is junk vehicles in the front yard. So, and our definition of what a junk vehicle is, we need a little bit more of. We need clarity. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, sir. We need clarity, and so that's what we do, and we present that, and maybe some other tweaks that just so everyone's on the same page. We all know the rules, and we can all respect everybody else in the neighborhood.
All right, the other thing we wanted to talk about was water. It's obviously a hot topic. We're in the middle of a drought. A Tier 1 drought has been called for the first time on the Colorado River. Water allocations in Lake Havasu City, Jess mentioned about our redundant freshwater system. So that's not changing our allocation at all. That's just sources of where we can pull our allocation from the Colorado River. Lake Havasu City has only one source of water, which is the Colorado River water. And we have done a really good job in past years. Councils long before me had the foresight to ensure that we had water futures and water entitlements for our community for our full build out. So our full build out is about, we'll call it 100,000 citizens, and that's based on the general plan. So the general plan is developed through an 18-month process, reviewed every 10 years. That 18-month process includes all of our citizens going through and engaging in what the planning, land uses, and all of those types of things are going to look like. It's then adopted by the council and then ratified by the voters. Our last general plan was updated in 2016, and that general plan has laid out all of these land uses based on what our community is going to look like. Lake Havasu City is pretty fortunate because we know our build out because we're surrounded by state and or federal lands, so we know what our total buildable area is. And so I should mention that, you know, when I say 100,000 people are like, what in the world? We don't want that many people here. I'm not saying I do either. We just, you've elected me to plan accordingly, and the general plan identifies that 100,000 people could live in this community. So we need to ensure that we have the right roadways, the right infrastructure, the right water, and all of those types of things for that full build out. So our entitlement is secure. Our taxpayers paid for those entitlements, and we have enough of our water source for Lake Havasu City to go to that full build out. Oftentimes during this drought, we get folks that say, you know, let's just stop building. We just got to quit building and let's just stop where we're at. Let's just do that, which is easy to say. But if we do that, all of the services that our citizens want won't be able to come here. And the water that we have in our allocation that we've already paid for just continues to go down the river for other communities downriver to continue to grow. So that would only be sustainable for one generation. If we said, hey, look, we're not doing that anymore, just we're going to stay with what we have today, that's it. We won't have a future generation of Lake Havasu City because we won't have additional investment for jobs or for families to want to lay down roots or those types of things. So we're trying to have smart growth that we understand what it is. How do we do it so it's not too much, but how do we also preserve our natural resource? When it comes to water, Lake Havasu City has been a leader in water conservation. We use less water today than we did in the 1990s, and that's with our population at what it is. So we're very, very good at it. So what does all of that mean? That means the rest of the Southwest needs to look at us and start in implementing policies that we have implemented years and years ago so that we can preserve the life of the Colorado River. Jess, I know you and your team work on this a lot as well as the council, so I don't know your thoughts on water.
Yeah, no, I think it's important for that fact is that conversation, that piece right there too. So when Havasu doesn't use the water allocation that we paid for over the last several decades, that water goes down to either the valley or down to the valley and elsewhere in Arizona, I should say. So our total allocation that we have by right in Havasu is about 29,000 acre feet per year, and right now we're using about 13 to 14,000 acre feet per year. So we have all that excess that we're not using. It gets gobbled up by others, downstream. But what we want to do is make sure that we maintain the paper right of our water to ensure that we can make those decisions moving forward. We don't want anybody else in the valley to come in and take away our ability to have some thoughts in terms of growth or not. So we need to make sure we maintain that ability. But we're using about half our allocation right now, and if we continue to do good things as residents and as stewards of Lake Havasu City with water conservation and using those low flow toilets and we all know the things that it takes to conserve water, and we keep doing those things and we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, so when it comes to the water conversation, I just wanted to give you all of the facts of where it's at. Because when you read the newspaper, you hear the nightly news channel saying, we have a drought and there's no water. Those are real facts. But like Havasu City has done a really good job in planning. Actually, all of the folks in the river area of Mojave County has done a really good job. And so we're just trying to lead the conversations for other people to do something very, very similar. It's oftentimes when we talk about water with other communities, other water users, everyone says the word water and then they fold their arms and they go in their own corner and they don't want to talk at all. And so I said, last summer? I said, there's certainly things that we agree on, that we can talk about on water. So let's peel open that conversation. So I said, let's just have this ad hoc group and we'll meet on a Zoom and we'll just start talking about water. So the first time we had about 10 people show. A few of those were just looky-loos, like making sure we weren't talking about their water. The next time we had about 18 people show. Then the next time we had about 30 people show, and we actually started having real conversations about things that we all agree on. So water conservation, low-flow toilets, drip irrigation.
That's 30 people representing like 30 cities and 30 areas.
And counties and
throughout to Arizona, which is fantastic.
Yeah, by the time we got to 30, there was only like 2 left that were like, don't talk about my water. So about 28 were actually engaged in the conversation. And so we're still working on that. We also have Representative Cobb has some bills that are in the legislature right now that will help with some areas, not in like Havasu City, but in the state. We're huge supporters of those. We're advocating for those bills. The reason why is if we have good water policy throughout the state, people will keep their eyeballs off of our water. And they'll focus and manage on their own resources. So we do have that when it comes to water and water allocation. The other conversation that we've had since last time we met was we have started initial discussions about the ARPA funds, or the America Rescue Plan funds, that each city and town across America received, and what that might look like. Like Havasu City received about $8.5 million over a 2-year period of ARPA funds. The funds have a lot of pathways in which they can be used, but primarily it's for infrastructure and social service to a point. And so it's very complicated. It's like 500 pages long. So I'm trying to summarize this down into a real basic area. But it's about infrastructure is what definitely can be used, so roads, water, those types of things. And then on the social service agencies or ability to help citizens that find themselves in a bad position. So the council's had some discussion about allocating some of those dollars mostly towards infrastructure, but also by creating the Community Resource Coalition Board and allocating up to $1 million to this board. This board would be appointed by the city council. They would then set out a process where local groups could come together and make an application to this board for funds up to $1 million in total in certain pathways. They would have to address housing. One, they would all have to be sustainable, so all of the programs would have to be sustainable, but it'd be in housing, child care, adult senior care, medical services, social services, and mental health. Are those, so any of those pathways, they can make an application to this board. This board would then vet them, review them, and then they would make those recommendations to council for a final adoption or a final award, if you will. So the process and the timeline is our last council meeting, we created officially that coalition board. The city clerk's office is now taking applications for any interested board members. There'll be 5 regular members and 2 alternate members, similar to our other board structure. They'll be appointed the same way as our other board structures are appointed, just like planning and zoning, airport advisory, parks and recreation advisory, and they will then get to work. They will start that process, so I would think maybe by summer, late summer, August, September, they'll be interviewing applicants, and then with awards possibly by the end of the year. If everything goes just perfect. So that's everything has to go just perfect for that timeline to be met, but that's kind of the overall goal. And then during our budget discussions, we'll discuss the infrastructure projects, but allocations towards public safety, roads, water, infrastructure. I believe that's kind of the big picture of where those areas would be going. So I don't know if you have any additional conversations about our ARPA conversation.
Or just to add to the boards and commissions, we're going to be sending out a press release here probably this week. We're going to have some openings on our other boards as well, boards and commissions. So if you have an interest in the Airport Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning, Parks Board, and so forth, we're going to start accepting those applications here in the next few weeks. So if you're interested, reach out. Love to have you.
All right, so for those of you new to Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager, you got a small tidbit of what we do, first Friday of every month, but this is a special edition, so we're going to go into the special section of our meeting. But before I do so, I would like to introduce some of my colleagues. We have Vice Mayor Jim Dolan is with us this morning. I don't know oh, there he is. Welcome, Vice Mayor Dolan. We also have Councilmember David Lane with us. Oh, good morning. Councilmember Nancy Campbell. Good morning. And Councilmember Michelle Lynn is joining us via Facebook. We're very savvy here. We're not only live, but we're also in the metaverse as well. So welcome, Councilmember Lynn. All right, so now we'll go ahead and bring up, we have panelists. So ALLO Communications, when we first met with ALLO, we set out and said, you know, we need something to happen with broadband in Lake Havasu City. Our citizens deserve better, they pay for it already, and they need better service. And so we were willing to talk to anyone. No offense, we love ALLO, but we were willing to talk to anybody. Yeah, we were willing to talk to anyone, and we did. We talked to anyone that would talk to us. And the best thing about ALLO Communications is that they came to the table and they were as upfront and laid it all on the table. There was no sales gimmicks, nothing. They just said, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is where we've done it. And we would love to come to Lake Havasu City. So not only did they choose Lake Havasu City as their first introduction into the state of Arizona, they also are doing it with a complete private investment of $50 million. $50 million they're investing in our community. Conversations and deals like this take so much time, and ALLO Communications did not waste any time. And so anytime they got a hurdle, they jumped over it. Not only did they jump over the hurdle, they did it 2 times over the hurdle to make sure that they were going to meet the mark and bring and deliver what it is that our citizens deserve and already are paying for. So without further ado, I do want to introduce a couple of other guests, then we'll introduce the panel. First, we have Zach Harris is with us. He's with Governor Ducey's office. He's the Transportation and Broadband Policy Advisor. Thank you for being here, Zach. All right, so our panel, we're going to start with Brad Moline, who, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Zach, come on up. Yeah. This is the special edition. I'm not in charge anymore. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm privileged to be here on behalf of the governor, and it's such a great day. I mean, this has been a fun process. I used to work in local government, and it's brought back a lot of wonderful memories. And so forth. So as we all know, the past 2 years have really highlighted the importance of broadband, and having fast, reliable, safe internet is crucial. And today we are here to recognize the $50 million investment by ALLO Communications that will provide the fastest broadband services in the state of Arizona. This feat, not to steal the mayor's thunder, I apologize. This feat should not be taken lightly. I wish I could say 10 gigabytes more often when discussing broadband around the state. And as we all know, internet is part of the bedrock of society. This investment will be a catalyst that will have a positive ripple effect for this region for generations. And this is really a testament to the leaders from Lake Havasu and ALLO Communication. And this benefit is numerous. I mean, we're talking about significant stimulus for economic growth for this region, secure redundancy, improve public safety response, deliver new and improved educational opportunities for all ages, and provide new and advanced access to telemedicine. And you know, today we are available with a bunch of resources for broadband development. It's quite a unique position in our time. And this investment is really an example of how we should move forward, and hopefully an example of a future investment in the state. So again, it's my privilege to be here on behalf of the governor. Thank you all again, and thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, Zach, again for being here, and thank you to Governor Ducey for his continual push to bring broadband outside of Maricopa to rural Arizona. We are very grateful for that. So if you could send him our best, we would appreciate it. Now I'll go ahead and introduce the panel. We're good. All right, perfect. So we have Brad Moline is the CEO of ALLO Communications. Welcome. Doc Wininger is with ALLO Communications and kind of led the way for us in all the conversations. Welcome, Doc. Jeff Sobotka is the State Broadband Director. Welcome. And then lining out the panel is going to be Jess, our City Manager. Yeah. And myself. And then we're going to be moderated by James Gray from the Partnership for Economic Development. So if the panelists want to kind of make your way up to the panel, and I'll turn it over to James.
Well, good morning. Before I start, I'd like to welcome Brad up to give some opening remarks before we start the panel. And then we'll start the panel with questions, and then ultimately we'll have Mr. Lane bringing mics around for your questions, which is why I believe a lot of people are here. So some opening remarks from Brad.
Mic work. Whoops. No, I'm on. Okay, there we go. I can't be pinned down here. First of all, thank you for such a great response. Wow. ALLO's built probably 30 markets, and each market is unique. We're guests in your town right now. After the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to be part of your town, and we're going to live with you for the next 50. That's who we are. We're a competitive utility. But I'm so excited to see all these people turn out and the interest in this because this is an exciting time, and it's an exciting time for us. I'm going to just give a couple of opening comments on who is ALLO. ALLO's been around for 20 years. Believe it or not, in 1999, I did an analysis on deploying next generation communications in Lake Havasu on behalf of News Press and Gazette. It's a small world. We're all tied together. It just took me a little long to finally implement it. So I've known Havasu for quite a while, but the number one thing I want to point out before we get started with the panel is it's quite often easy to throw darts at the governmental representatives that you have, whether it's Zachary from the governor's office, or whoops, there you go, Jeff Sobotka from the broadband program, or your local groups. I can tell you, we've never seen groups lean in and welcome us and answer questions quickly and professionally and deal in a professional manner like we have in the state of Arizona. So I really thank you for your professionalism. And the first meeting we had, Mayor, wow. You guys can tell he's in sales. And he leaned in, and I came out of here about this high off the ground and said, what did he get me to commit to, and how can I make sure we're honest? We operate as a company with 4 values. To be honest is one. So what we say, it's not always going to be what you want to hear, but it's what we're going to do. To be hassle-free. Try to make it as easy to work together with our communities, with our fellow utilities. Again, we're a competitive utility. So we're going to be disruptive for a couple of years, but then we're a fellow utility for the next 50. So we're hassle-free, we're honest. Next is local. We're learning about your community. We'll have sales offices here, we'll have a lot of people here. And the final thing is the toughest one. We're exceptional. We're exceptional in how we work with each other. We're exceptional with the technology we have, but mainly with our customer service. It's how we take care of you, because it's your community. We're the guests right now. So we live by those 4 values and hold us to them. Let's get started with the panel, and we'll answer a lot of the questions as we go through.
Well, good morning. One of the things I want to say, what a full room. An engaged community is a prosperous community. And it's so good to see so many people here. I'm going to start with a question for Brad. As we've heard, ALLO has completed these types of ubiquitous fiber to premise builds many times. What are some of the biggest challenges from an engineering perspective? And then also, because you've witnessed communities thrive by bringing this, how does this type of speed impact communities once it's fully built out?
Well, there's two really different questions there. I may stand up. I'm seeing people. There we go. Number one, on the engineering side, the teams, and what I mean by that is that our engineering team, the city, our contractors, the early stages, everything's working great. We'll get in permits. There will be issues. Just like putting in a water line or anything else, there'll be challenges that we come up against, but we'll knock them down. We've got many of the people in our leadership of our engineering team here in construction. We do a very good job. That's one of the challenges, is just getting that rhythm of the first few neighborhoods, the first few areas, so that everybody knows how everybody works. And because right now, as I like to say, we're a lot of talk and no do, because we haven't proven. And the city will work with us, and we'll do a great job. It's one of the things that is really our calling card. We won't be perfect. We'll damage some sidewalk or something, but we'll fix it. And if we didn't notice it and you need it fixed, please, please, please call us. Don't call the city. Call us. We have a restoration repair team. We'll institute it. We'll work with you, and make sure that it is satisfactory to you. That's important, because I would love to say this next 2 years is hassle-free. It's not. You're going to see you're already seeing our trucks around. Just wait. You're going to see a lot of those green trucks all over the city, be patient. If we're doing something that bothers you or whatever, call in. We'll address it. We'll fix it, but we'll keep the rhythm. Because our goal is, much like, I'm sure there's some real estate developers here, much like when you're building a apartment complex or a condo or a group of homes, from start to finish, let's get it done so we can then use it. And so we're going to want to work at a very safe, but yet meaningfully paced project. Then what do the communities do with it? What I like to say is we're an enabler, and sometimes an enabler is not a good thing. In this case, it is, because what we do is we give you more bandwidth than you need. It's just like water, electric, sewer. Thank goodness we have more sewer than we need, because it wouldn't be weird if we could only flush the upstairs toilet and not take a shower and all that. Well, I've always said that's the interesting thing about broadband. For some reason, we've always given everybody a little less than they need. Well, you're going to have up to, at launch, 2.3 gigs symmetric, that means up and down, to any home. Businesses can go up from there. How it's used is how you guys use it. We'll enable the schools, we'll enable the hospitals, we'll enable the patients and the students. In other words, create the gigabit society. But you'll have people come in one of our small communities in western Nebraska. At one time, the guy who was the editor of Runner's World and the shoe editor of Running Times edited both magazines from this little farmhouse in western Nebraska. Why? Because he had unlimited bandwidth. It's pretty amazing, that type of situation. The people who will come here from all over the country to live and prosper will take it to a different place. But what we've got to do is, our ultimate goal is, broadband's never an excuse. Broadband's never on any RFP for economic development or any reason that people live here. Broadband is not the reason that someone doesn't want to live here. It's the reason people want to live here. And then they can enjoy this amazing community. We only make it that much better.
That's a great answer. Where is Jackie Joyce? Can you raise your hand? So Jackie came prepared for Brad with a whole sheet of questions. And I mean, I'm impressed. I love it. She wants her questions answered. Brad's agreed to kind of run down the list.
These are great questions, and I'll be a little quicker with these. Number one, will 10 gig service be for the entire community or just selected neighborhoods? It's a 10 gig backbone. Initially, it'll be 2.3 gig to any home, but we have many plans. You know, they started we're part of the ACP plan, which is a low income plan. You know, anybody for reduced lunch and that. Not a huge issue in this this community, but that starts at 100 meg up and down. We have a 500 meg up and down gig, and then the 2.3 gig. But it's also more than that. At our core, we're a phone company. Standard dial tone and for businesses, homes, etc. And then we also have television, linear TV. I would love to say our television costs $20 a month. It doesn't. All you have to do is watch the NBA Finals and what all those guys are paid, and that's why you pay so much for cable TV. Yes, I too would like a la carte cable, where you could pick 5 channels. It's not offered. Turns out the people in Hollywood and other places, they bundle it all together. So if you want ESPN, you have to take Disney and all these other things, and it ends up costing what it costs. I said I'd be fast, and I'm lying.
It will be citywide.
And everything will be citywide. Now on the business side, tell us what you need, and we'll bring it, because it's a whole different technology. We have a combination of what's called a PON program, as well as an active Ethernet or active connection. People who are CIOs and that will understand that. So we can deliver whatever speed to anyone. I read your plans. Where will we start first? I am not going to get sucked into that. I will tell you, I'll blame it on the guys in the back there. The engineers drive it, so that it's a combination of what gets permitted first, efficiency of construction, all those different things. The reality is the entire community will be built in approximately 2 years. So the first and the last is not, I can't be bribed. It's not because of one thing or another, it's because of the efficiency of the build. We'll locate a central office, and if you think about it, it becomes a spider web away from that. That's generally how it works. You're rebuilding a major thoroughfare through town. We'll probably steer clear of that as much as we can. We'll either get it in ahead of time or get the heck out of the way, because you don't want the roads and us working together. Now, we may throw a conduit in so that it makes it a little more efficient, but you don't want us tripping on each other. And so we'll work tightly with the city on events, on a variety of things to try to stay out of your way. Because we want you to like us at the end of the day. And that's real important. A 2-year plan to finish seems a little fast, considering the different types of infrastructure. Well, we built we built Lincoln, Nebraska, a town of 300,000 people, in roughly 3.5 years. And guess what? When I'm from Nebraska, when I got on the plane to come here, it was snowing. So anyway, weird weather right now. And so we couldn't work 3 months out of the year. We work with our contractors, we work with our professionals so that we operate in a very safe manner to build it. The community will be able to handle a certain pace. You know, we couldn't put 1,000 people in here. And by the way, in Lincoln, we had almost 1,000 people working at one time between contractors and that, divide the city in 4 quadrants. It was pretty impressive, but it was also incredibly safe. And that's the most important thing. We don't want to do damage. We don't want anybody to get hurt individually or property. And that will govern it, and it will also be what the city can handle. And each city's different. So I can't predict it, but I would say where we can go most year round here, 2 years is a good target. But by the way, I heard from the mayor, it could grow here. It will grow here. We're never done with construction. We're part of your community forever. So that's just the first passings. Will the service be fiber right to the home or business, or will coax or copper wire be part of your network? I'm lucky. We started in 2003. I've never owned an inch of copper or an inch of coax. I've only owned fiber. And so it is a pure fiber play. There's a lot of technologies. In some cases, wireless is going to be good for the whole region around here. And I think you have some I met some individuals of a wireless company that I'm sure they're very good. In the core part of the town, it'll be all fiber, but we'll work to solve solutions outside of town, and hopefully we can work together. We just met today. But we like to be part of the community, not come in like the 800-pound gorilla. What will the cost for a typical home with 5 family members who uses your top speed internet service and with elder members? My dad's 87 years old, and he uses the internet far more than I do. He did research. He was agriculture based and a farmer, but he did research his entire life, and wow, he uses far more bandwidth than I do. So I don't want to put you in buckets of age. What I wanted to do is put you in buckets of use. So the 100 meg up and down, which is fully federally supported, ends up being free to the individual if you qualify for government assistance in that. 100 meg up and down is a $30 project that ends up being free. And it's to help low income. And by the way, it's the best program I've seen that the federal government's done in 20 years. So I'll get off that soapbox because I haven't been very complimentary of them in the past. But the 500 meg, it's going to be around $70, but it includes your Wi-Fi router, and it's awesome. So it'll hit every edge of the home. Within reason. There's some very, very large homes or some unique cement construction and that type of thing, but in general it does. The one I have in my house, I can get Netflix almost half a block away. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. And I don't know why I was testing it, but that's the type of thing I do. The gigabit's going to be right around $100. $102, $3, somewhere in there. And then we've got a new 2.3 gig, and it's between 150 and 175. It's just an introductory price. It'll come down. I haven't figured out exactly what it's going to be because we don't know what it's really going to cost. But then we bundle voice. You get to keep your same phone number and all those types of things. And then we also bundle, like I said, TV. And the easiest thing is go to our website. The communities look a lot like Greeley, Colorado, I would say, as far as the pricing and that. So go to allofiber.com. We'll be pushing that out pretty shortly because we want you to know there's a keep in the know, there's how to sign up, all those types of things. And we'll also have a local office. So when it'll pop up in the next couple of months, and you can come in and look at things, test it, try it, those types of things. We'll start construction in about June. First customer live on a test basis. We're having a little bit of challenge with getting out of Lake Havasu, and so we want to really lock that down. It'll be after Labor Day, but then we'll have we call them ponds, which is about 1,000 rooftops, and we'll be dropping about one of those a month going forward till the project's over. So it'll happen pretty fast. And when we say rooftops, remember, it's not just homes. it's businesses, it's governmental entities. We don't do contracts. The people who are with us for 5 years or 5 minutes get charged the exact same amount. So there's no deal of the day. There's no any of that. I'm a bean counter by trade, and I never liked the graduated pricing. We want to reward our customers. We've got customers who've been with us for 18 years. Why should they pay more than the person brand new? So we try to do that. Every once in a while, we'll do a teeny little promo tied in with something that maybe get a free speed upgrade for a month, but we don't do that wholesale step function of cost. Trying to answer some questions that aren't asked, but will be. What will the price range for service from low to high, full service with internet, TV? TV, if you get everything, it can end up being almost $300 with all the TV channels, all the premium channels, and 2.3 gig internet. But very few people buy that. But I just want to be honest. If some people say, just give me everything, I don't want to think about it. That's fine. Most people don't buy that. About 70%, 65% of our people just take broadband on the residential side, and then you're going to bounce between the 70s, mid 70s to that really 105. And the one thing is, it's awesome. We only have one town in our footprint that makes the top 100 cities, largest cities in the country, and there's all kinds of rankings that come out, and that's Lincoln, Nebraska. And right now it's ranked as the second best broadband in the United States. And that's done independently by, when you go to speedtest.com, it's done by that. For the first time ever, this last quarter, we beat Austin, Texas, which is a pretty well-connected town, but we can never beat Kansas City. Google Fiber and AT&T are going at it, and I like to say we also take care of the lower income with the slower speed. That's my excuse. I hate excuses. Basic price structure, we talked about that. Customer service. Customer service, in the end, we do something really interesting. When you call, we actually pick up the phone. What I like to say is AT&T had it best. Those of you who can remember AT&T in the mid-'80s, where they were part of your community. They employed people locally. They were part of your city council. They were part of your chamber. Maybe coached a little league baseball team, went to your church, whatever. That's what we want to be local, but we want world-class infrastructure, fiber, and we want it to work all the time. Because no one wants to call their telco. I mean, we're friendly people, but wow. It's best if it always works. And so as we come up, in the you'll start to see maybe a little difference in how we operate versus others. And the big thing is, if we're not operating the way you want us to, come in our office and ask for help. Ask for us to fix it. Because we're competitive. We're never the incumbent. And we have to fight. As I like to say, we spend tens of millions of dollars to get the first customer. I really hope the second customer comes a little cheaper. Because we are for profit. There we go. I got through them all.
Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate your forthcoming and honesty in answering all of Jackie's questions, and thank you for bringing those. Next, Jeff Sobotka. He is the State Broadband Director. Can you talk about the importance of broadband connectivity for rural communities in Arizona?
Yeah. As the State Broadband Director, I travel all over the state. I can tell you where the best Mexican food is. Had a very good breakfast at the Red Onion this morning. It's definitely in my top 3. And the importance of broadband connectivity is keeping your community relevant in this digital economy. So much of what's done today is done over the internet. You know, you get your packages from Amazon, you get your entertainment from Netflix. If you don't have that, you're not part of that community. It also helps you connect within the community itself to be able to participate in events like this with the mayor. I think it's important that this infrastructure gets built, but built in such a way that it's permanent infrastructure. And what Brad's talking about is something that really is good for 50 years. We're not going to have to come back and do this a second and a third time. So getting this done today gives your community the foundation to have the type of life that, whether you live in Los Angeles or Phoenix or Dallas, Texas, you have the same ability to connect. Education K to 12. You may not have an AP physics teacher in your high school, but if you got kids that want to take AP physics, they can take that class online from best teachers in the country. Telemedicine. You know, we work with a lot of veterans organizations and such that need to go in and see the VA. You don't always have to get in your car and drive to Phoenix to go to the VA, and sometimes it's just a matter of a checkup to get your prescription refilled. You have good broadband, you can do that. Economic development, you're going to attract companies here that you never believed would come here before. I hear you can't get a U-Haul in California these days. There's a reason for that. They're coming to Arizona. The governor's done a great job of recruiting these companies, and they're going to continue to come here. Why do they have to go to Maricopa County? Why can't they come here and create those kind of jobs? So this is what broadband will give your community. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's an infrastructure investment that will continue. You've been very fortunate that you have a mayor who's been very active in this space. Councilwoman Campbell, who's been on my calls for, 2 years now, has been very active. And Representative Cobb has been the biggest advocate for broadband in this state at the legislature. So if you see her, thank her. That's why we're all here, is these folks working together to do what's best for Lake Havasu City.
Great, thank you. Mayor, Lake Havasu City's largest industry sector is tourism. How will better broadband impact visitors and the hospitality industry that serves them?
Yeah, thank you for the question, James. You know, Lake Havasu City has so many unique different niches. You know, everyone moved here for some reason, but it was all the allure of Lake Havasu. So tourism is our biggest economic sector that we see. We visually see that. But there are so many amazing people that are working from home that are doing amazing work. Or they might have a small storefront, and you don't even realize the international landscape that they have or what they're doing. So all of our citizens equally deserve and need reliable high-speed connectivity. And so when we get folks that come to our community, you've all experienced it on holiday weekends or special event weekends. If you have certain carriers, your phone doesn't work maybe as easy as it did. Maybe your Wi-Fi's jammed up. Maybe you're not getting your emails coming to your phone. And then all of a sudden people leave on Monday and everything starts popping back in. So it's important because we do have such a fluctuating population with not only our summer visitors and our winter visitors that come for extended periods of time, but also all of the great events that we have weekend after weekend that bring in a lot of folks and other folks leave. And so because of that, we need to have a network that can expand and contract the way our community expands and contracts. Obviously that's done with tourism, but it's also the impact of our everyday citizens that are just doing the good work that they're doing, whether that's professionally or just doing it to entertain themselves. So there's a lot of different aspects there of why it's so important for us to have this reliable service and also choice. This is now giving our citizens the opportunity. We're basically putting it back into your hands. Now you have the choice of what works best for you and your family, and you do that, and whatever works for you, we support you doing that.
You're going to have another problem, and that is because we've seen it. We have another town that's at Breckenridge that is very tourist driven. People won't leave. And I know that's tongue in cheek, but it actually becomes a problem because they would always leave to go back to work. Well, they can work from home better here than they can in California or in Phoenix or in other places. And so, just over time, there'll be people who stay longer in their whether it's Airbnbs or their own vacation homes. And it does create a different challenge And so it's a good challenge, but it is a different challenge.
Next question is to Doc. We've heard today that ALLO has made a tremendous investment in Lake Havasu City. Can you talk to how many local employees that ALLO has already hired, and what do you project in the future? And maybe what are some of the current positions you're looking for?
All right, I knew that question was going to come up, so I wanted to have some information from our HR department. We have already hired 30 people in Lake Havasu City, so we have 30 people here already working. Our projections are that by the end of this year, we'll have 39 on staff, and by the end of 2023, we'll have 62 employees here in Lake Havasu City. Those employees, early on, the employees that we have now, and you're going to see quite a few employees that we have here today, a number of who are right here in Lake Havasu and a number who have come down from Nebraska to be part of these festivities. But you start off with your surveyors, your locators, your construction management people, your outside plant management people, and then you build the team from there. And so we are currently looking to hire a number of people that include leadership training people. We're looking at the people that are going to work in customer service, the people that are going to work in technical support. All of that will be local. We'll be looking also for what we call a first impression specialist, so the person you talk to when you come into the storefront. So there's a variety of jobs that we will be hiring for. A lot of them involve a certain amount of technical expertise, but a lot of them are general in positions that we can train. We have a tremendous training program, and so if you have technical expertise in another area, we can train you there. But those are the kind of numbers that we're looking at, and we're really excited to get up to that 50 to 60 number over the next year and a half.
That's awesome.
I got a question for him. What's your side gig?
My side gig is, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Lake Havasu City. For the last 30-some years, I've been a public address announcer, and currently for the Milwaukee Brewers and the Oakland A's during spring training, as well as for Grand Canyon University, who beat the University of Arizona last night to become the Arizona State champions. They're 6-3 now against top 10 competition, so I hope to see them in Omaha. You're going to see on my expense report a trip to Omaha if Grand Canyon makes the College World Series.
Well, I believe you have a side gig. Don't you play in a band, Brad?
I do. I'm a drummer in a band. Not a very good one. We have 4 musicians and a drummer.
Jess, next question to you. I think it's very timely that last year Lake Havasu City did an incredibly robust survey to its citizens, and the number one concern among citizens was internet broadband connectivity, and I know that a lot of your staff has put a lot of time and effort in making this happen. Maybe you can give a few remarks on your impeccable timing about solving great problems in the city.
Well, I thought I was here to give an address and then get a timeline of when I'm going to get service. Is that how this works? So yeah, I get a date and time, I give my address. Yeah. We did thank you, James, for the question. We did a community survey, and one of the biggest concerns from the residents was reliable internet service in Lake Havasu City. We do have some small companies that provide good service, but on a large part throughout the community, it's very inconsistent. We spent several months with Zoom calls and conversations. Doc, what do we have? Zoom call once a week or every other week and like, is today the day you're going to announce? How about today? So a lot of those conversations occurred over the course of many months to try to get information and to really to court ALLO to our community. One of the things that I found surprising was we asked that question. So, why are you so interested in Lake Havasu City? Tell us more about what's attractive, so we can build on that. You have terrible internet, and we like the layout of your town. It's like nobody ever says that about. So that's the reason why they're coming to Lake Havasu City. But that was the attraction, is that they're coming to Havasu and they're filling a need, and we're working hard. We have worked hard to get to the point where we're at today, and as we advance that ball, the city will be working with Brad and Doc and their team, and as far as that permitting process, and to make sure that that happens in a way that's going to be as gentle as possible. There will be some disruptions and things that will occur, but thank you to Brad and his leadership, is that he leads a team of problem solvers, and we take pride in that at the city as well too. I lead a team of problem solvers as well, and working together, we'll do some good things for the community. But glad to have you here, and it's pretty exciting. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Let's go back to Jeff, the state broadband director. We hear this phrase, work where you live, and broadband, especially over COVID, has really blurred the lines of where people can work. How has this investment helped Arizona be competitive in broadband?
This will help Arizona, and this will specifically help this community attract the kind of folks that you need to have a community this size work. More often than not, when you hire a doctor for your medical center, they have a spouse that's trailing with them. In many cases, that spouse has a very high-end job as well. A lot of those jobs since the pandemic can be done remotely. You can work, so you're going to get better doctors. You're going to get better teachers for the high school. Because again, you're attracting people who can come here, and maybe your spouse wants to work for American Airlines as a reservation agent. They can do that from right here in Lake Havasu City. But the most important thing you're going to gain is the most valuable asset that many small communities have lost, and that's your young people. If they're smart, they go away to college, and maybe they get a computer science degree, and they go to work for Microsoft in Seattle, and they're making 6 figures, and your grandkids are up there. It's a long flight. Now they can come back to Lake Havasu City, be part of the community, be part of civic life, get their kids in school here, and build that multi-generational stability that's so important to smaller communities. So to me, that's the most valuable thing we can do, and that's why I do what I do.
Thank you for that. Well, with that, where is David Lane? Okay, perfect, Mr. Lane. I could keep asking him questions, but I know that generally when I meet in forums like that, the best questions come from the audience. So let's open it up right now to audience questions. I see a few hands being raised.
Saw one come up real fast right here with Mr. Bonnie. And just for everyone to know, you have to hold the microphone right next to your mouth or nobody can hear what you're saying. Mr. Bonnie?
Thank you, Mr. Lane. In many situations, states and communities provide tax incentives. Was that offered to ALLO to come to Lake Havasu, either by the state or by the city?
The organization that my office falls under, the Arizona Commerce Authority, does offer tax incentives to companies that come. And we've had discussions with Brad as they build out their team. A lot of those are reimbursable tax incentives, so you have to prove yourself. Governor Ducey's big on that, and then you're eligible for those, just like any other company that would come to Arizona, whether you're manufacturing computer chips in Phoenix or installing broadband in rural Arizona.
Yeah, so locally there was no local tax dollars whatsoever or incentives. I had a secret weapon that others didn't have, and that's all of you that are underserved in this market. So they're ripe for the taking, and Brad and his team saw that. So there is no local incentives at all for this. This is a complete $50 million private investment from ALLO Communications into this network.
Yeah, I can elaborate on that as well. We don't have any state incentives at this point in time. What we are working on in other parts is some middle mile grants and some other things. In other words, to connect Havasu with other communities, or we're also working in Yuma. We're also working in Kingman. So there are some projects that do have governmental support, but Havasu itself, no.
Thank you, guys. Can you hear me? I have 4 questions, 2 from me, 2 from Vince, who owns Whiz Kids, who could not be here. And his are techie questions, so I don't understand what he's asking. My 2 questions are, is your customer service outsourced to a third world country or outside of the U.S.?
Well, first of all, as we build the region here, our goal is to serve Arizona with people from Arizona. Obviously, as we come up, it's going to overflow. It's your call if you call Nebraska and Colorado a third world country, you know. But it's all ALLO employees. There's only one scenario that anyone that's not an ALLO employee would ever take a call, and that is if there was a massive outage or a massive issue. Shouldn't go there, but you know, if there's a 9/11 type situation where you just get flooded with calls of, you know, what's going on. We do have a group out of Kansas City that can overflow. I don't think they've taken a call for 3 years.
All right, my second question, average wait time on average, on hold?
Wow, Don, do you have a good idea on that? It's under a minute, isn't it? Just over a minute.
Okay, and then these questions are from Vince, who owns Whiz Kids. I got to read them. I don't understand what he's asking. Are you offering MPLS?
MPLS, it's a transport. We do, for the gearheads in the room, we do layer 2 connections, and we don't do MPLS ourselves, but we can offload it to others who do offer MPLS. It's a type of transport to off our network.
Oh. Well, yeah, I'll just reiterate that to Vince and he'll figure it out. The last question from Vince is, he says, SLA service level agreement resolution time to acknowledge or respond to an outage or trouble ticket.
The SLAs, you can see those on our website. Keep me honest, Kathy and others. Business and residential is a little different, but knowledge of the activity it's really immediate. But we do an SLA for a 4-hour resolution, so that's our worst case. I don't think we've bumped up against that for years, but it's a standard in the industry.
I wanted to add one thing on the call center. Your first call during business hours will be local, and then we will have people on. We answer the phone 24/7 for technical support and for customer service, and those are our own employees 24/7. A lot of those hopefully will be in Lake Havasu City, and you'll have support here for other Arizona markets that then open that we might be looking at down the road. But just want to make sure you knew it was 24/7 live people that answer the phone for tech support. So if you're in the middle of a game at 3 in the morning and something goes down, you have somebody you can call, live person that will answer and deal with that technical problem.
Speak English.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, they're all, like Brad said, they're all either Arizona or they're our employees in Nebraska and Colorado.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming. The reason I'm going to say the reason this room is so full is everybody in here has a disaster story about local broadband. My question, or I just want a confirmation, is your broadband going to be all the way to the home or just to the local pole?
Yes, it's all the way to the home, and we prefer. I'll take it another step. In apartments, we want to take the fiber to the apartment, not wireless through the apartment or wireless through the different MDU or those types of things. Our preference is always to make it permanent and get fiber into the apartment. For example, that way everybody has the same situation response and we can proactively tell if you're having a bad day in your home. We can't tell where you go and those types of things, but we can tell, hey, for some reason there was a glitch in your home or your apartment or your condo, and we get a report, and so quite often we can fix it before you call in. And if you think about that, think of how much time that saves us. But it's because we have fiber, and it's a ubiquitous approach, homogeneous approach with our routers.
My next question is there anything that you recommend a homeowner do to take full advantage of your system?
What can a homeowner do to take advantage of the system? If you're building a home, even our set-top boxes are wireless, so you don't have to have a cable outlet. You can move your TVs around, move them to the deck, those types of things. But we recommend in brand new construction, while there's dirt, pull a tube into the home. We call it Smurf tube, a blue tube, throughout the home that goes from wherever you want our access point into your home to be to your main entertainment center, those types of things. If it's a larger home, one on each floor. Don's in the back, raise your hand, and his team can give you even more ideas. I think there's some FAQs on our website as well, but those are the main thing. The routers are really good, and so less than 10% of the time do we have to have an extender. So it's we can cover you pretty well, but if it's new construction or if you're doing remodels, let us know, and we can help advise you locally.
What ways do you guys, if you do, collaborate with the holy Google?
Google? Yeah. Well, we do caching. And what caching means is, each of us think that we're ultimately unique in that, but we all go to roughly the same websites. If there's athletics going on, we all hit ESPN, for example. And so what we do is we do local caching, so that with Google, you're searching for the same things. I know it sounds weird, but you are. And so we try to cache as much as we can, so you have an incredible experience, and everything happens real quick. But other than that, you can obviously use YouTube TV on us. We enable that, and it works very well. But we really don't have any relationship. We don't sell our data to anyone, and so there really isn't any of that tight application. And so I think that was your question probably, but the other thing that's coming up is this fall, Thursday Night Football is going to be on Amazon, and through Amazon Prime, so everything's going to be streamed. That's going to be an interesting thing for the carriers. And obviously we cache that, and our network's designed for that speed.
So hello, my name is David Diaz, and you kind of just led into one of my questions. So with more and more people getting smart TVs, and since you don't do contracts, you can just hang a TV on the wall, you got a good router, you got to watch any channel you want. You don't need cable or a TV channel package. Is your cost structure built for that? So since you don't do contracts, you're not going to say, well, we don't got enough cable people, so we're going to have to raise our price. That's one question.
The real interesting thing in the industry right now is nobody's making money on cable.
Right.
And so if you're a streamer, God bless you. We actually make more. We actually generally make more money. And so what we try to do is we price things so everything's standalone. Yeah. It's not incremental. And our job is to respond to how you want to live, not tell you how to live. And so if you want to stream. I'm still old school. I like my linear TV. I like my channel guide. I like all those things. And people say, but you pay so much for it. I'm like, Yeah, but I just don't have enough attention span to go to streaming. And I know that sounds really weird because most people think I'm a network guy, I'm a tech guy. I'm really not, as everybody back there who's probably had to help me start my iPhone at different times. So that's how we, and we don't know where it's coming. We don't know where the world's going. I've said it was easy for me at these events to say we've got a future-proof network. Wow, 2 years ago we got to prove it, and some of our markets we had literally tens of thousands of people moving home all at the same time to work, and our networks perform flawlessly. So our job is to be ready for you and you to use it however you see fit, but it's real important to have fair pricing. That's what we call it, always fair pricing, which we're for profit. You want us to stay in business, but at the same time, you don't want to feel gouged. And so what we do is offer world-class service, as good as there is in the country, at what we believe is a fair price. We can all debate whether it's a fair price or not. My wife's in the grocery industry, and we can debate on what a fair price for bananas is too. But we don't have a lot of complaints about our price structure.
And one of the questions I get I'm campaigning for city council. One of the questions I get from people is they love ALLO, what you guys have been talking about, but they want to know who the parent company is, where the money's coming from.
Well, where's the money coming from? I've invested all the money I have. I'm the third largest shareholder. But this is expensive. We've invested over $500 million so far, and we'll probably invest another $1 billion over the next 2 to 3 years. Those are big numbers. I continue to invest, but we have 2 minority shareholders. One is Nelnet. Is anybody student loans? Have you ever, you know the term Nelnet? Yep, nodding. Thank you for your payments. They're an investor. They're a Nebraska-based company. They manage about $500 billion of the, maybe a little bit more of the country's student loans. But they can't make new loans. Back in 2008, student loans were nationalized. And so they've got this cash flow stream, and they're looking to invest in something new. Well, they're a public company. You can look at them, NNI. Great company. I really like the management team and the primary investor who's controls about, 50-60% of the vote. And they're an investor. We have another group that's a former data center company called SDC, and they're a private equity fund, and they continue to invest. Both long-term investors. That's why we've been at it. People say, "Oh, well, then you have to flip and all these other things," and I'm like, remember, we've been around for 20 years. This is a long-term play, and I told our management team last week when we were together, I said, "Oh, by the way, I've decided I'm going to retire in 20 years." Now, I don't know if people want me around that long, but anyway, this is a perpetual business, and they have the capital to keep it growing and growing. And Jeff and I spent a lot of time last night talking about what else can we do for Arizona. These are our first 3 markets, but I really believe, I don't know if it's going to come true, but I really believe we'll have more employees in Arizona than anywhere else, any other state in the country in the short term.
Well, we're sure glad you're here. I have some really dumb questions. I'm trying to figure out, like right now, most of our wires are above ground, come from a pole, come in. I'm pretty sure, not positive, my cable comes in that way too. So what's it going to take then to get it to my house? Because fiber optics, I feel like it's a cable in somewhere and it's got to be connected. Maybe you can clear that up for me.
Probably the easiest way, that's a common question, is how are you going to get there? It's wherever the existing utilities go, we will follow nature, is what we call it. So if they're aerial, we'll go aerial, as long as there's places on the poles. If it's underground, we'll go underground. and then we'll enter the home roughly where the current providers enter the home, and that's really how we do it.
How does it get to Havasu itself?
How does it get to Havasu itself? That's actually one of the challenges of Arizona is the middle mile network, and Jeff educated me on all of the things the state's doing, which are truly impressive to solve that. But we'll end up, and there's a couple paths right now. We'll end up connecting in Vegas, in Phoenix, and then tie into our national network from there.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Kruger from the Chamber of Commerce. I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for, for one thing, for the opportunity to speak with Kathy Carstensen from your team this morning. And I just wanted to let the audience know that ALLO has already made an investment also in the nonprofit organizations, and the Chamber of Commerce has already participated in a few of our events and has stepped up to the plate to be a sponsor for the Chamber's Awards event that's coming up very soon. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I have Chamber connections all over the country, including Greeley and Lincoln and those different communities, and all of my Chamber friends speak very highly of you. So just wanted to offer that.
Well, thank you. Here, I'll do this one. Okay.
Hello, I'm Christine, and I'm very concerned about our supply chain. Are your routers and products made in America?
The question is, are our routers made in America? No, they're not, because we don't make them. We use a company called Calix, and most things are made in Malaysia. Certain parts, then certain parts are made in Mexico, and certain parts are made in the United States. Standard global supply chain. With the various grant dollars and things like that, there's a big view on not made in China, and so we comply with all of that. And the fiber is made. Wow, we use 3 different vendors, and North Carolina, South Carolina, a little bit in Mexico is mostly where the fiber comes from. Supply chain, it's real. I mean, we're dealing with it every day. But I was so pleased to tour our yards and see all the materials already there. Our teams, we've already done all our orders for 24. We're way out in front of this. We've been doing it for 20 years. This is my 4th business cycle I've been through, and we got ahead of it. Can I promise that we'll never have a problem? No, I really can't, because I can't see around corners. I've been trying. But we're in really good shape compared to most. There's a question clear in the back.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. We've kind of hit our hard time limit. We will get someone back to you after this. Yes.
Yeah, here's the map of the construction area. Go on our website, allocommunications.com. There'll be updates there on the construction. Also, very important, there's a career site on our website. So if you have, friends, relatives, yourself, nieces, nephews, kids, grandkids that you think might like to work for a company like ours in Lake Havasu City, please direct them to our website, because we are hiring.
Yeah, and just finally, let's give a quick round of applause for these gentlemen on the panelists and for making this deployment of capital and connectivity possible. And Mayor, I'll let you wrap up your own platform.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for all of our citizens for coming out and being part of the process. Isn't it amazing? We have the CEO of ALLO Communications answering these very tight questions. His entire team's in the back. Thank you to ALLO for the entire team. But Brad, you're amazing. Doc, thank you so much. Not only for your investment in Lake Havasu, but for believing in us and for serving our citizens. I can guarantee you that we'll pay you back in dividend in big proportions when you come online. So thank you so much. much. Again, a big thank you to Governor Ducey and his team. Zach, thank you for being here. And Jeff, for all of your work on the broadband up here in Northwest Arizona. Coffee with the Mayor next edition will be not a special edition, just normal. But it'll be Friday, June 3rd, and it'll be over at the City Council chambers again. We talk about all of these things and more. The only part that you didn't get today of a normal coffee is to ask any questions you might have outside of broadband, but we do that as well for a good 45 minutes or so. So thank you all for being here. Big thank you to Jerry Bracamani, who's running the control room, so those online could be here. And some of the people that were really helpful during the ALLO process has been James Gray and Amy from the Partnership for Economic Development. They've been with us for every step of the way as we've been talking with ALLO, getting them the information they needed to make good decisions to come to Lake Havasu. Thank you for your leadership. And again, thank you to ALLO for all that you're doing.